see if I can do something for you. The man leaves. Corey tells this to the family. The family's gathering all the money they have in the house. It's not enough. One of the family members has to go to France for the rest of the money. And Corey went back to bed, and the family is sitting here in this room at the end of the day. And Betsy hears a lot of cars coming into the street. In those days, it was only the Gestapo or Nazis who had cars, so she doesn't trust it. Press one of the alarm bells. Corey's sick in bed. She's first of all Jews going into the hiding place. At that time, there were also two young resistant men in the house. They also went into the hiding place. She just in time could close the door, went back to bed. In the meantime, Betsy went downstairs, and there was the man from Ermelo. She hands him the 600 guilders, and that was the sign for the Gestapo to storm here into the house. That was the day they really demolished the whole interior of the house. One of the Gestapo went to Corey's bedroom, pulled her out of bed, kicking and slapping Corey, interrogating her. The rest of the family was interrogated, but nobody said anything, and the whole family was brought to the dining room. The family had an agreement, an all-safe sign with the resistance, and that was a triangle sign. If that triangle sign was in the windowsill of the dining room, the resistance knew it was safe. But it had fallen on the floor, but one of the Gestapo put it back. And because he put it back, from late in the afternoon until late in the evening, between 25 and 30 resistant people were arrested. Everybody was brought to the dining room. Late in the evening, the family and the resistant people were brought to a police station. Just at the end of this alley was a police station. And before they left, the Gestapo said to Father Casper, who was then 85 years old, if you promise not to open your door for anybody anymore, you can stay here. But Father Casper said, if tomorrow somebody comes on my doorstep and needs help, I will let him in. So they took him as well. The Gestapo was so convinced that there were Jews in hiding here that before they left, they put a guard in the house and a guard in the alley. The police of Haarlem collaborated with the Gestapo, but here were two young police officers who were loyal to the resistance and who knew that there was a hiding place for Jews here. The next day, the family and the resistant people were brought to a prison near The Hague. It's about an hour from here. Corey, who still had high fever, was put in solitary confinement, and the almost 4 months in prison over there, she had to stay in solitary confinement. These two loyal policemen asked at a certain point at the Gestapo if the guard could be turned over to them, but it took 47 hours before the Gestapo was convinced there were no Jews in hiding here. They turned the guard over to these loyal policemen, who freed the people in hiding, who fled via the roof of the neighbors into freedom. Corey received, after a few weeks in prison, a letter from her sister Nolly. In the letter, Nolly wrote that everybody had been released from prison except Corey and her sister Betsy. In the letter, she also wrote that Father Casper had died. For Corey, of course, very, very sad, but she knew he was truly free. He was with Jesus. Because of her work with the resistance, she must have known that they sometimes wrote secret messages at the back of the stamp, so she took off the stamp. And Nolly had indeed written in very tiny letters, all the watches in your closet are safe. That is how Corey knew that the people in hiding had left the house safe. Corey and Betsy are reunited after almost 4 months, but they were sent to prison, to a concentration camp here in Holland, Vught. There they stay for about 3 months. In that time they still had received a package from Nolly with a tiny Bible. After 3 months they are deported in a cattle wagon for 2 days, 2 nights, without food, without water, and they arrived in Germany at the women's concentration camp Ravensbrück. When they arrived there, it was for Corey obvious that they had to give up all their personal belongings. So Corey started to pray to God, from Father, help me to get your word, your book inside. And the miracle happened. The women in front of her were strip searched, the women behind her were strip searched, and she could smuggle in the Bible into the barrack. The barrack was made for around 400 women, and they put around 1,400 women in the barrack. Because they had the Bible, they also shared the gospel. But during the Nazi period, the Bible was the absolute forbidden book. So Betsy and Corey were wondering why there were no guards coming in the barrack. And they found out they really didn't want to come in because the barracks were riddled with fleas and lice. So Betsy said we have to thank God as well for the fleas and lice. Betsy